of Disneyland is designed to mimic a movie theater. So essentially, we just bought our ticket to see a movie and we're standing in the lobby. We haven't gone into the theater yet. That's why this is a dead zone, so that you leave behind all these memorable movies, and we're going to go into a space where the soundtrack isn't anything we recognize, because we're not watching a movie, we're living our own.
So guys, I want to look at Disney a little bit different, because something has been going over in my head for many years. We've heard obviously about the Disney cruises, the Wish ship, about the sex scandals. We've heard about MK Ultra being at the park. We've heard about the bunnies, the cheetah prints, the pandas, you name it. But I want to look at something else. It's like they're using what is known as Disneyfication. They're changing the narrative. The parks are being used to enchant children, maybe turn them into changelings, swap them spiritually, mentally. They're using the magic of the flute to entice children into the parks. It reminds me of the Pied Piper of Hamelin type of story, and this is what I want to look at. And basically, if you're not sure about what happened to Pied Piper, they say it's folklore, it's myth lore, but it's not. It's actually a true story. 130 children went missing when basically a rat catcher came to town. That is the theory. It used to be in the church. They made a mosaic in like the 13th century and it got destroyed in the 17th century. It's crazy. So they hired this rat catcher to enchant the mice, the rats away. Didn't pay, so he came back and abducted the children. Some stories are talking about it was a recruitment drive for soldiers, trafficking. We've talked about the St. Vitus dance before on this channel. All those things have been talked about, the Black Death. And I want to look at how the Pied Piper has basically been used as inspiration for the parks. And this, I want to show you a clip. This is one of the first cartoons they've really individualised a couple of the characters. This one, they used the rat catcher, the Pied Piper, and obviously the Mer. So I'll show you those characters now, those clips. You can see they look possessed. It's crazy. So I want to look at this a little bit differently than just the usual. So I'm looking at the parks being used to enchant children. So what you're watching now is obviously a little clip from the 1933, the Pied Piper. They basically Disneyfication it. They changed the narrative of the story, to hide the darker tones. As you know, the Pied Piper comes, takes the children, enchants them away with his flute. That's what I want to hone in on, the flute and Disney and these parks being places of the Pied Piper. And you can see, look at the children, black-eyed, like the black-eyed demons. And they're taken away. In the original folklore, true story, the 130 children disappeared into a cave. And that always reminds me of obviously the Celtic stories of fairy folk taking children and obviously changelings. But in the Disney one, they basically opened up a magical portal to Joyland, where the children played forever and ever. The narrative of the park. Come to the park and have all this music, sweets, treats. And in their tale, the lad who couldn't walk, the disabled lad, was basically cured, where in the original one, he was never taken. So why are they honing in on this narrative of enchantress, the music, like the pan? So this is what I want to look at in the video, because something just doesn't sit right with Disney and the ethos of these parks. So obviously there's method in my madness and why I'm honing in on the Pied Piper and the flutes. But that will be the final reveal. So as you know or may not know, obviously a lot of us have children and you've been children yourselves. You know the pull of Disney. It's everywhere, and we saw the basically symbols that they use and how they look like phallic areas. We've all saw it. But the flute is tied to enchantment, and according to even Disney, flutes have always been associated with spellbinding music in folklore, and they mention Pied Piper, the Pied Piper, as inspiration, and pastoral fairies and forest spirits. And the composers of Disney basically lean heavily on this tradition, and it makes you think about the innocence of that tune, because it's been associated with being light and childlike. So they're using a lot of it in the films. And it supposedly fits Disney's emotional tone. It's so weird, this. And when we're even looking at, I'm just looking at my notes now, Disney parks, park etymologically did mean fenced in and livestock pen. So you can see what I'm trying to get at. You're going into a dead zone, so you're leaving the world behind, you're getting your memories wiped, and then you're going into the park to experience and to get influenced by the sound. And even resorts meant a refuge, you go into somewhere for help. And in legal terms, it means end dernier resort, meaning the last court of appeal. That is what basically park, and obviously resorts, last resorts. So you can see why it's making them go, they're choosing these terms to use for the park and having these dead zones and all these basically flutes in their films and in their parks. They use basically the flutes for imitating birdsong, wind, forests and talking animals. And they use flutes, when you go to a transformation scene. So that's what we're talking about, transformation from one state to another. And they use flutes during moments of magic, dreams, flying and discovery. And you might be thinking, why does he keep going on about these flutes? You will know by the end on why it makes sense. And again, some examples that's been used for a lot of the flutes are Fantasia, the woodwind, heavenly for surreal fantasy images, Peter Pan, obviously, Pan, Pocahontas, Aladdin incorporates reed and flute music to create an exotic magical atmosphere, and obviously Frozen. So it's getting to the point where I have to look at things a little bit differently. Yes, we've heard about, like I was saying, about these things in Disney, about the sex eyes and obviously abduction, adrenochrome and all these things, but it's music that entices the children. And obviously they use musical language as symbolization, like moonlight, dreams, fairies, water, childhood and supernatural. It's all connected. And they use this as inspiration. Panpipes, woodland spirits from Greek mythology, Celtic fairy music, obviously the changelings and fairy folk and fae in the enchanted forests, and music being literally controlling reality. This just screams what's going on for me. And when we look at history and folklore about flute and kidnapping children, the number one that you will find when you search is the Pied Piper of Hamelin. And obviously, like I was saying before, it comes from the 13th century folklore. And it happened in 1284. The town of Hamelin was infested with rats, a Pied Piper. And he's always been associated also with death. Appeared and offered to rid the town of rodents using his magic flute. Now, he kidnapped after the town council refused to pay for his services. And he returned and basically he entranced 130 children, leading them out to town and into the cave in the mountains where they disappeared forever. But Disney changed it to a park. And this is what just made me go, something's not right here. And obviously there's some variations. Some say the children were led to the Vesey River, while others suggest that they were led to a new land, Transylvania. And the earliest records focus on the children's disappearance and do not mention the rats at all, suggesting the rat catcher aspect was added later. It's a weird one. I mean, in Japan, and Disney are really attached to Japan a lot. There's a fabled story of the stepchild and the flute. And in this tale, a vengeful stepmother kills her stepchild and then buries the body in the garden and grows bamboo from the grave. And the child's father makes a flute out of that bamboo. When played, the flute produces a human voice rather than music, singing a sad story about the child's kidnapping and murder. And obviously the outcome revealed the crime. But you then have the biggest of them all with, the Pied Piper is Greek Pan, Peter Pan. and you have Peter Pan and Daphnis, and not traditionally kidnapping, but the motive is Pan is credited with creating the flute and teaching shepherds to play it. He often lures people, particularly nymphs and young lovers, away from society. So this is the aspect that I want to get at about these parks, and how it's tied to magic and the frequency of the sound to control children. And there's been so many people talking about Disney and how it leads to child trafficking, sex acts, and Satanism, and so much more. But I didn't want to get on that in this short video. I just wanted to hone in on the connection with the Pied Piper and obviously the flute. So here's the reveal. Here's why I've been talking about the Pied Piper and flute and Disney and the connection. And hopefully this will blow your mind and show you why I've made this short video, just to highlight this. Ask, is this a connection, or am I just seeing things as usual? But here goes, guys. So like anything, I love to do spell etymology. I love to break down words and find the hidden spells. Now I decided to break down Disney into two. So here goes, guys. This is what you're going to find, and here's the reveal. So Disney, the prefix dis originates from Latin dis, apart, asunder, in, two. So two, tracing back to the Proto-Indo-European, the pi root, the pirate, dwiz, twice in two ways, which is related to duo. Two, it signifies separation, reversal, negation, or not commonly used to mean opposite of, e.g. disagree, dislike, dishonour, dishonest. So you can see why it gets my mind thinking, oh, two, part in two ways. Latin origin, it stems directly from the Latin prefix dis, which was used to mean apart, in different directions, or between. This between, like between worlds, this transition in these dead zones, these underworlds. Two connection because it originates from the pi dwiz, it related to the Latin bis, twice, and duo, two, implying a separation into two parts. So they taking something as they were referring to spirit, soul, energy, DNA, who knows. Evolution of meaning. While initially denoting physical separation, apart, it evolved to take on a privative or negative sense, meaning not or opposite of in Old French, des, and later in English. Variations. The prefix was sometimes assimilated to diff before the f and die before certain consonants. In Latin, such as in difficile or direct. Now, if you change this from Latin to Greek, dis becomes dis, but dys, dys. The prefix dis originates from ancient Greek dus, meaning bad, difficult, abnormal, or hard. It entered English primarily through Latin and is commonly used as a medical and scientific terminology to denote impairment, dysfunction, or negative states, representing the opposite of the Greek prefix eu, meaning good. And Disney, some forms of Disney name, can be spelt D-Y-S-N-E-Y. Wow! So we have two, and we also have meaning hard, bad, difficult. Wow. So, and here's something I did not know. Dis, there is a Roman god, Dis. A separate noun, Dis is the Latin name for the god of the underworld. And it's tied to Pluto. Did anyone say Pluto? Often derived from the contraction of divus, meaning rich. So there's a Roman god of the underworld called Dis. Underworld, dead zones, you can't make this shit up. So I wanted to have a little look at Dis because obviously I never heard of that name before. Dispater, or simply Dis, is a Roman god of the underworld, equivalent to the Greek Hades or Pluto. His name translates to rich father, from Latin divas, signifying his early association with underground wealth, mineral resources and agriculture fertility before becoming primarily associated with the dead. Key details about Dispater. Role and associations. As a Chthonic deity, Dis was feared and governed the underworld, often synonymous with Pluto, the rich one, the dog, and Orcus, another Latin death deity. mythological background, he was considered as a son of Saturn and Ops, making him a brother to Jupiter, Zeus and Neptune. Notes. Consort, his wife was Proserpina, the Roman equivalent of Personifae, who was a goddess of both death and agricultural abundance, and also Dis as a place. The name was frequently shortened to Dis and became a common name for the underworld itself, famously used by Dante Alighieri in the Divine Comedy for the city of Dis in Lower Hell. So guys, now let me play that little clip again.
This is a dead zone.
Dead zones. Disney. There's no way around it. You can see the connection. So, what did N-E-Y, Nef, in Disney also mean? Persian origin. Musical instrument. The word ney or ney refers to and of a blown flute. Used in Persian music, it derives from the Persian word ney, meaning flute or reed. It has deep roots in Middle Eastern music and spirituality. Old English nay is sometimes a variation of nay, meaning no or refusal. This comes from the Old Norse nay, combining the ni, the not, and the I or e, ever. Colloquial and misspelling. It is frequently used in modern colloquial slang, sometimes a variant of nay or a playful word of saying no. Come on, guys. So you got the death, you have the underworld, all connected, and flutes to Disney. Now you know why I talked about the flute. Wow. But, and here's the but, you also heard the word too. Now, while most versions of the legend focus on a single magical pipe, some interpretations, notably mentioned by Proper Meremy in 1829, suggest that the Pied Piper used two different instruments, a bronze pipe, bronze flute, to lure the rats, and a different pipe for the children. Two pipes, two flutes. Whoa. So you can see Disney, two flutes, two gods, underworld, all that shenanigans all rolled into one. Wow. And if you want to connect the underworld to flutes, there is this also. Greek mythology and folklore featured a two-flute instrument that is strongly associated with the underworld, death and tragic punishment. The instrument is known as a oulos, a double reed wind instrument consisting of two pipes or tubes played simultaneously, often referred to as a double flute. So there you go, guys. There you have your connection with the Pied Piper, the two flutes, underworld, the death, the dead zones. Wow, my mind's blown, and hopefully, guys, you've enjoyed this short little video just looking at Disney a little bit different. So if you appreciate this work, the video, please like, share and subscribe. And if you want to help me or the channel and keep the lights on, as I say, you can always buy me a coffee or a bar. The QR code is on the screen. And it's also, the link will be in the description. So guys, stay safe, always wear a smile, and don't let the bar stools grind us down. Bye!